Hello, Steve Arts 89. Well, I've been reminiscing about my childhood and just trying to find, do I have any stories to tell? And one of the things that did happen to me that I think was kind of interesting was I grew up in a transitional era with corporal punishment. When I was a little kid, we had spanking. And of course, I grew up being afraid of getting the cane at school. Now, when I say grew up with spanking, my parents didn't spank me. I had one incident with both parents. One was sort of just happened. The other one was I was being deliberately punished for something that I did that was outrageous when I was young. And that was it. I wasn't one of those kids that was beaten. I wasn't one of those kids that was smacked around and, it was called, a punishment when it really was just the parent out of control. Nothing like that. Yeah, we had the cane. When I first went to school and was growing up, we had the cane and I was terrified of it. I never got it because I was a good kid. I was scared. But there were other kids who got it. But then before I got to the end of primary school, it had been ended. And then things did change. There was a sense of, you can't touch us, you can't hurt us. There was a sense of unruliness, and we still had detention and suspension and calling our parents and so forth. So the teachers still had, weapons in their arsenal, but it wasn't quite the same. But I ultimately am glad that it ended. I do think it was abuse, and it was kind of known that there were some teachers who enjoyed doing it more than others. And I do think some people individually did abuse it, not naming any names or any schools here, but I'm glad it ended. It's interesting because I imagine when you're a younger kid and you hear about things, in the past, like, oh, they used to have corporal punishment, they used to cane kids, they used to have sort of severe punishments when we were a kid. And when we were kids, we heard about how much worse our parents had it. They used to get caned mercilessly, apparently, and it sounds just like the most brutal. I mean, I don't want to compare it to anything, but you just hear all these horror stories, and then you sort of grow up and you're sort of resented. And I know I was resented because, like I said, my parents didn't use corporal punishment with me, but they did with the first couple of kids. They tried that with them and it didn't work, and they learnt that it didn't work, and they changed their way of raising the children. They changed their process with the next couple of kids, and they changed it again. And by the time they got to me, I was a free-range kid. I got to do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, and it did allow me to become a very free, creative, individual person. But part of the issue was that my older siblings resented me for that because I got to do whatever I wanted and I didn't get the punishment that they did. So that was also interesting as well, because you sort of seem to get you get the envy of the other the generation before you that had it worse because you haven't had it as bad, and it's like they want to give you a better life but they resent you for having it. And I did experience a bit of that, especially within my family, because I was the youngest and I was very sick when I was a child. I got a lot of attention. I was very much a mama's boy, and she apparently wasn't as nurturing and soft with the other children as she was with me, partly because she was already a grandmother at that time. I was the youngest of 8 and her eldest daughter had having children before she had finished having children. So I had nieces and that they were same age or older than me, and just a bit younger than me. And there's a lot of nieces and nephews now, and some of them aren't that much younger than me. There was another gap, and then there's some more. There's like 20 of them. I've lost count. I honestly don't know how many kids some of my relatives have. I have lost track and I get them confused. And I never see them and they don't talk to me, so it's hard to remember. And they don't care, so why should I? But there was a lot of that and a lot of resentment, and particularly one relative who really, really punished me for not being punished, and punished me for getting special treatment and being, the favourite or whatever, or the baby. And I won't say bordered on abuse, it was abuse because they were an adult. At that point I was the youngest of 8 and they were old enough they were an adult, and it wasn't sibling rivalry. And I've made a lot of comments over the time and people say, oh, sibling rivalry. I'm like, no, it was adult, child, it was abuse, it was different. And just like in school, you had adults physically abusing children, and it was all done under the idea of punishment and learning, but really it was just fear and torture, and it didn't work, and they ended it, and I'm glad. And I'm kind of glad I saw the tail end of it, because I never experienced it directly, but I sort of, I understand the fear of living in it. And I saw what it did to other people. So glad it's gone, but I'm not one of those people who can sit back and say, well, maybe things would have been better if we did that. I know they weren't any better. But I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Thanks. Bye.